Ladies and gentlemen, I have a privilege to make a speech once again in this nice auditorium. So, dear Professor Masuma Hasan, dear Dr. Shaista Tabassum, dear Professor Zabta Shinwari, my all dear colleagues from Kazan universities, from Russian institutions, my Pakistani friends, distinguished guests and participants of the plenary session. Once again, I should start my speech with repeating the words of Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov that our relations are developing progressively, and the current period is the most positive one in many decades. This is not to discard the fact that we had a lot of bilateral ventures in the past, such as Pakistan steel mill built in Karachi with the help of the Soviet engineers in 1985, and Gudu thermal power station that was constructed in northern Sindh in the 1980s. However, the foundation laid in the previous year may finally transform the ties between Russia and Pakistan into a long-lasting, robust, and mutually beneficial partnership. Historically, Russia and Pakistan have had constantly good constructive relations, no matter who is in power. And in 2024, we saw another proof of this phenomena when the elections were successfully held in both of our nations. The formation of a new Pakistani government not only did not cause any interruption of the positive trend in our relations, but gave a powerful boost to them as well. However, unfortunately, geopolitical shifts and global power struggles sometimes create different challenges. And the relations between Russia and Pakistan have been no exception. For example, during the Cold War, the global political situation was extremely tense and complicated, and Russia-Pakistan ties were heavily impacted by the bloc politics. One of the such episodes was Pakistan joining an anti-Soviet collective defense organization, SEATA, in 1955. Other misfortunes include U-2 American spy plane incident in 1960 and the situation around Afghan war in the 1980s. However, I should once again draw your kind attention to the fact that despite those disagreements and misunderstandings, our leaders never terminated diplomatic and economic relations. And they can be a very good sample for the modern politicians who are not thinking about interests of the peoples when they're breaking these ties because of some disputes. Moreover, our leaders continued to maintain economic partnership and political interactions for the improvement of our people's lives. I believe that such legacy should be preserved and passed through the next generation of the politicians and diplomats, as I also mentioned, as a great example of responsible governance and foreign policy. The importance attached to Russian-Pakistan relations is reflected in the level and frequency of our bilateral contacts. The flagship event was the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Heads of Government meetings on October 15-16, 2024, which was conducted in Islamabad. On the sidelines of this summit, the head of the Russian government, Mikhail Mishustin, and Prime Minister of Pakistan, His Excellency Mr. Shahbaz Sharif, discussed all the main issues on the bilateral and global agenda. Other important interactions include the talks between Russian President Vladimir Putin with Mr. Shahbaz Sharif on the sidelines of SCO Heads of States meetings in Astana on July 3rd last year. The head of our state also met his Pakistani counterpart, Honorable President Asi Alif Zardari, on October 11 during the International Forum in Ashgabat. Furthermore, the visit of the Deputy Prime Minister of Russia, Alexei Overchuk, to Islamabad on September 18-19 and Russia-Pakistan Trade and Investment Forum held on October 1 in Moscow gave a powerful impetus to our economic cooperation. While the visit of Chairwoman of the Russian Senate Valentina Matvienko on October 27, 29 to Islamabad solidified the ties between the legislative branches of our governments. This chain of summits, meetings and talks culminated with the 9th meeting of Russia-Pakistan Intergovernmental Commission on December 2 and 4. As a result of this forum, a protocol was signed which laid out a roadmap for Russia-Pakistan cooperation in a wide range of spheres. The main focus was drawn to our rapidly developing economic partnership. Russia-Pakistan trade volume continues to increase, exceeding $1 billion for the second year in a row, but there is still much more room to grow. While our strongest tracks have traditionally been energy sphere and agriculture, this comprehensive document also focused on information and financial technologies, transport, scientific, educational, cultural, and humanitarian partnership. We shall not forget the industry and public infrastructure, as a number of projects in these spheres are currently being discussed, including the revival of the aforementioned Pakistan steel mill. And we reached some progress in that. Russia and Pakistan continue to maintain productive military cooperation as well. The foundation for it was laid thanks to the visit of the Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu to Islamabad in 2014, the first ever of any Russian defense minister. As a result of the meeting, the two countries signed a military cooperation pact. This agreement provided for exchange of information on political military issues, cooperation of promoting international security, intensification of counter-terrorism and arms control activities, strengthening collaboration in various military fields, including education, medicine, history, topography, hydrography, and culture, and sharing experience in peacekeeping operations. After these talks, Russia and Pakistan also launched a regular conduct of joint military exercises, Druzhba, which translates from Russia as a friendship, from 2016 to 2021. These activities were aimed at learning from mutual experience in the counter-terrorism domain with a view to adopt best practices in various types of military operations. The exercises were held in autumn of each year from 2016 to 2021. In 16, 18, and 20, they were conducted in Pakistan, while in 17, 19, and 21, the exercises took place in southern parts of Russia. And after a 3-year break, in October 2024, they were successfully held in Pakistan. What is more, the efforts to strengthen the contacts in the Naval Education Department are also being made by both nations. Just 3 weeks ago, the head of the Russian Admiral Kuznetsov Naval Academy and a former commander-in-chief of the Russian Navy, Admiral Nikolai Yevmenov, visited Karachi, where he attended the commissioning parade at Naval Academy. And just recently, the delegation headed by Rear Admiral Alexei Sysuev took part in Amman Dialogue 2025 and discussed all potential spheres of cooperation in the naval field. We continue to support the efforts to promote partnership in the field of military technology and defense export as well. Our country has a history of productive cooperation in these spheres. For example, in 2015, Russia signed an agreement with Pakistan on the supply of Mi-35 helicopters, 4 which were received in April 2018. High-level delegations from the Russian military regularly visit Ideas exhibition in Karachi in order to find new opportunities. The latest expo was not an exception. Last year, in November, the delegation led by the head of Russian Naval Shipbuilding Authority, Rear Admiral Shigapov, visited Karachi and held productive talks with Pakistani counterparts. A newly discovered dimension of Russia-Pakistan partnership is the promotion of strong ties between our police forces. I'm very unfortunate to say this, but both our countries sacrificed a lot dealing with organized crime and terrorism. which is why it is very important to share experience in this domain in order to eradicate this evil and maintain law and order so that safety and prosperity of our citizens can be ensured. Talking about the development of Russia-Pakistan relations, Sergei Lavrov also focused on promoting further integration with Shanghai Cooperation Organization as one of the primary missions of SCO countries, is the eradication of so-called three evils: terrorism, separatism, and religious extremism. He underscored that there is mutual interest in practical interaction in fighting terrorism, and that battle against terrorism also calls for joining efforts with other regional powers. Russian Foreign Minister supported creating a common center for combating new threats such as terrorism, drug trafficking, and organized crime, and he assured that this idea will be implemented within Shanghai Cooperation Organization in the current year. Russia also welcomes Pakistan's latest bids to join BRICS organization. This strong commitment of Pakistan demonstrates the consistent support of a more just, equal, and multipolar world order. Our nations agree on many issues in the international arena, share the same basic values, fully support the principles of the UN Charter, and are actively resisting neo-colonial, genocidal, and fascist practices of some states that unfortunately still take place in today's politics. Pakistan continues to prove itself as a responsible and independent country, and Pakistan's position on the issue of Ukraine has been a great example of this. All your governments maintained a balanced and reasonable approach despite the enormous external pressure and threats, which is greatly appreciated by our leadership. More and more people and nations are starting to realize, as Sergei Lavrov said, that Russia had to begin this special military operation in Ukraine to repel an attack, a war waged against us by collective West, with the main goal of suppressing competition when Russia re-emerged as a strong rival on the international arena. The main goal was to weaken our country geopolitically, creating direct military threats to us, not somewhere across the ocean, but right in our borders. What is more, the West, which is consumed with the issue of human rights, hasn't lifted a finger or said a word when literal Nazis grabbed power in Ukraine in 2014 and immediately started to carry out the plan to eliminate the official status of Russian language, which is spoken by more than half of the country's population. I'm assured that Pakistan, a country with an extremely diverse population, where many ethnic groups live together in harmony, is smart enough to detect such hypocrisy and stay away from it. And I should repeat once again, we really appreciate the approach of Pakistani government on this Ukrainian issue. If we speak about a way forward in our relations, I believe we should promote investments in the most precious commodity in our possession, which is a human capital. More than 60% of Pakistani population, which is even more than the whole population of Russia, is young people. The potential of Pakistani youth is enormous, and it is crucial to benefit from it for the better future of our people. Right now, the government of Russia provides a quota for 50 people to study in Russian university completely free of charge, and the number is expected to grow substantially. There is also a number of other great initiatives. For example, after the visit of the Vice President of Russian Sberbank, the largest bank in Eastern Europe, with the advanced IT department, in July year to Pakistan, our countries expressed readiness to work out the launch of the famous School 21, which is a very famous and advanced IT learning facility. Some great moments of cultural exchange between Pakistan and Russia include the participation of Pakistani rowing team in two regattas in Russia in 2024, first time in history, and they took silver medals in this competition. While the Russian rowing team arrived to Karachi just a couple of weeks ago and took part in the Boat Club Regatta, also firstly in history. I hope this year and beyond we will manage to bring our nations much closer to each other for the prosperity and mutual enrichment of our nations. So, all things considered, our partnership is based on mutual trust and respect, as developing in a very dynamic pace and in practically all aspects. And at the same time, we should not become complacent, and continuous hard work of both Russian and Pakistani governments, diplomats and business and experts, and we should understand that this job is critically important to ensure the implementations of all the great initiatives. So I would like to add that every time I'm visiting my colleagues in Pakistani Foreign Office, I feel with my heart the warm attitude, the readiness to work together, and the kind attention to our common job, which the fruit of which would be good and very positive and very trustful relations between our countries. So thank you very much. Thank you once again for this nice opportunity to address you.
Thank you, His Excellency. What a good historical go-through between Pakistan and Russian relations. I'm grateful that the basic principle for relations, trust and respect, is really highly appreciated. The positive words about our Foreign Office people, and then the talk about our youth. And on my forum, I will be really very pleased to send my students to your country and their students in our country to have more. You know, this is what we call it soft diplomacy. This is what we call it another diplomacy that academia has to do. And the third, that we will accept each other's semesters. If somebody spends 6 months in Russia studies, we will accept that study in our, here in their degrees. Their time will not be wasted. And same should be in Russian, Kazan, for example, initially. So ladies and gentlemen, with these few words, I beg to leave and I hand over the chair to Alishev Timirkhan Bulatovich, if I pronounce it, Bulatovich, to please take the session on. And I see His Excellency in the evening to enjoy your hospitality. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. I just want to say that, regarding the qualification recognition, now the new agreement between Russia and Pakistan is being scrutinized, is under consideration, and we hope that this year maybe it will be signed, so it will be much easier to recognize the qualifications and the grades which are gained by each side when we're traveling via the academic mobility to university of respected country. And I want to thank again Andrey Viktorovich, you for your very comprehensive overview of our political, economic, military ties and collaboration which is going on in security. You know, Kazan was the host for BRICS summit last year in October, and there were a lot of discussions about new members which will join BRICS in the near future. And of course, we're looking forward when Pakistan will be part of BRICS, because this would be a very good platform for new discussions in the field of education and science as well. And of course, we're looking forward for expanding the number of scholarships which are granted by the Russian government to Pakistani applicants who want to be students of Russian universities. We're inviting to the stage Professor Dr. Adam Saud at the moment, so he will join us. He will join us. Okay, thank you. Thank you. And we are going according to the order which is already presented in our agenda. So again, Her Excellency Dr. Masuma Hasan, the evolving Pakistan-Russia relationship in changing global order. She's representing the Pakistan Institute of International Affairs. So the floor is yours.
Distinguished Chair, Excellency, Consul General of the Russian Federation, respected panelists, and distinguished members of the audience. At the outset, I would like to express my praise and appreciation for the diligence, energy, and hard work both Pakistani representatives and the scholars from Russia for putting together this very interesting conference. In his keynote speech, His Excellency has really said it all. So I don't know how much I can contribute. There was some confusion about the subject of my talk. Originally, I was asked to speak on Pakistan-Russia strategic cooperation in defense, energy, and beyond. But in a message which I received yesterday, I was told to speak on the evolving relationship between Pakistan and Russia, and I will try to do in a changing global order, and I will try to do some justice to it. Because this is the theme, the very theme of the conference itself. I would like to start by saying that the post-Cold War global order has changed dramatically, and the world has shifted from a unipolar to a multipolar order. And there have been many paradigm shifts due to the emergence of new power alignments. As President Putin of Russia has said, the formation of a multipolar world is irreversible. It cannot be changed. It is said that the 21st century is the Asian century. And a great deal of the veracity of that statement relates to the stability, the relative stability in relations between the ASEAN countries. But the most significant factor which we have witnessed in recent times is the phenomenal rise of the People's Republic of China. China has reached out to the world through its remarkable connectivity initiatives. The BRI, which reaches to the borders of Europe and even to Africa. China, through BRI, has established 6 international economic corridors, and I will list them for your interest. There is the new Eurasian Land Bridge Economic Corridor, the China-Mongolia-Russia Corridor, the China-Central Asia-West Asia Corridor, the China Peninsula Corridor, and the Bangladesh-China-India-Myanmar Corridor. And then, of course, there is our own corridor, CPEC. Some analysts argue that very soon China will overtake the United States as the leading power in the world. In the evolving global order, we also see a solidarity among the countries of the Global South, and through their participation in associations such as the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and BRICS and the African Union, and their universal condemnation of conflict and violence as we have witnessed in Palestine, especially in the absolute brutality inflicted by Israel on the people of Gaza. Pakistan and Russia do not have a common border, but they share the same geopolitical space and they share common concerns. I look at contemporary Pakistan-Russia relations through the lens of Russia's status as a great power, its resurgence, its large Eurasian landmass, its natural resources, its achievements in science and technology, its nuclear capability, and its remarkable outer space programs. Above all, I have great admiration for how it rose from the ashes of the dissolution of the Soviet Union to the seat at the power table which it now holds. There have been many vicissitudes in Pakistan's relations with Russia, many ups and downs in the past. But the changing world order has brought them closer. Russia is the world's largest exporter of natural gas and the second largest of oil. It is also interested in hydropower projects. And Pakistan can revive the Pakistan Stream gas pipeline, which will carry LNG from Karachi and Gwadar to Lahore. It is estimated to be an 1,100 kilometers long pipeline. Russia can also play a crucial part in Pakistan's connectivity projects with Central Asia. For instance, the ambitious 573 kilometers Pakistan-Afghanistan-Uzbekistan railway line, CASA 1000, and the TAPI projects, all of which have been held up because of turmoil in Afghanistan. Pakistan can support Russia's aim to establish a greater Eurasian partnership. It is significant that Pakistan has remained neutral in Russia's military operation in Ukraine. Under the Charter of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, both countries collaborate in maintaining peace in the region and fighting against extremism. Pakistan has also sought Russia's help in seeking membership of BRICS. Pakistan has applied for membership. The factor of terrorism is a united one between the two countries. There have been terrible incidents of terror attacks in Russia, leading to loss of thousands of lives. And as we all know, unfortunately, Pakistan is a victim of cross-border terror attacks from Afghanistan by the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which has sanctuaries in Afghanistan today. Recently, many memoranda of understanding have been signed on trade, the economy, military and technical cooperation, defense cooperation, energy cooperation, energy infrastructure between Pakistan and Russia. The 9th meeting of the Russia-Pakistan Committee on Trade, Economic, Scientific and Technical Cooperation was held in Moscow in December last year. Russia has shown great interest in Pakistan's mega hydropower projects like the Diyama Bhasha and Dasu dams, and in providing electro-technical machinery for these projects. And in the end, I would like to say something about the North-South corridor, of which the Russian President, Mr. Putin, has invited Pakistan to be a member, to join that. Pakistan has already started the procedure of joining that very important corridor which will link the north to the south. This is called the International North-South Transport Corridor. It is 7,200 kilometers long. It will involve multimodal transportation network connecting India to Russia via Iran. It will establish shipping, rail, and road routes. 10 nations have already joined it so far. It can be perceived as India's strategy to politically and diplomatically isolate Pakistan and sideline it, reducing its influence in the region. But as I said, President Putin has invited Pakistan to join it, and Pakistan has begun the membership process. And finally, I would like to say that the two countries can cooperate to fight terror in the region. Terror which has overtaken our lives and has cost the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, especially in Pakistan. That is a partnership which can bring great dividends to the people of our two countries. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak. But before I conclude, I would like to say, is there somebody here from the Institute of Oriental Studies, Russian Academy of Sciences? I would like to say that my institution, the Pakistan Institute of International Affairs, has had a long-standing relationship with the Institute of Oriental Studies, Russian Academy of Sciences, and I especially wish to mention here my friend and the supporter of my institute, Professor Belokrinitsky. Please give him my regards and my love.
For a very intellectually deep speech, and thank you for the special emphasis you made on transportation corridors and logistics, because of course for Russia access to Indian Ocean and to the ocean generally, world ocean is crucial for exporting its goods. And you mentioned that Russia and Pakistan don't have common border. Sometimes, you know, not having common border is a prerequisite for good relations. And I also hope that we will not have any borders in our intellectual communication and cooperation between our academia. And I want to continue with the next presenter, Professor Veronica Usacheva. She is the representative of the distinguished financial university under the government of Russian Federation, and she will give a presentation named The Russian-Pakistani Relations in the Context of Russian Engagement with the Global South. Please, the floor is yours.
First of all, I would like to thank the organizer of the conference to take part in such an interesting and very important event. Your Excellency, honorable chairs and speakers, distinguished participants, dear colleagues, my topic is the Russian-Pakistani relations in the context of Russia's engagement with the global south. And first question is, what is it, the global south? The geopolitical turbulences of recent years and Russia's confrontations with the global West open new opportunities to increase and diverse cooperation of Russia with the countries of global south, including Pakistan. Some words about what is this global source. This is controversial and not widely accepted or universally recognized term. The concept grows from the late 1960s when the left political activists implement this term. He argued that the war in Vietnam was a culmination of a history of northern dominance over the global south. Close to this opposition, South-North, the term First World referred to the advanced capitalist nations, the Second World to the socialist nations led by the Soviet Union at that time, and the Third World to developing nations. many at the time still under the colonial yoke. The term global south is not geographical. In fact, the global south two largest countries, China and India, lie entirely in the northern hemisphere. Countries in the global south were mostly at the receiving end of imperialism and colonial rule. These African countries as perhaps the most visible example of this. The unwillingness of many leading countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America to stand this NATO over the special military operation in Ukraine has brought to the fore once again this term, the global south. The truth is that for understanding of the global south, we should keep in mind just non-Western countries. And in this case, we should think not on the position south-north. We should think and should introduce the term of global west. Global west, not north. And we should remember all attempts during the 20th century of all non-Western countries to fight this global west, these their colonial rules, neo-colonialism, and remember all these attempts, unfortunately unsuccessful attempts, to make new world order with more justice. We should remember non-alignment movement with support of Soviet Union at that time, and their attempts to create new economic order, new information order, etc. Again, we need to remember that all the prosperity of the West, especially at the end of 20th century, was based on the new colonialism, new kind of colonialism, perhaps global colonialism with growing role of transnational corporations, of course with headquarters in USA. So all this prosperity was based on this new colonialism, on the plundering of states of former socialist camp, the new states of former Soviet Union, Asia, and especially Africa. Now some words about the importance of Pakistani and Russian-Pakistani relations. From the view of Russian experts and analytics, Pakistan is an important regional state and a member of the informal club of nuclear weapon states. Islamabad's policies are crucial to security and stability in South Asia and the Middle East. In recent years, Pakistan has pursued an independent and balanced foreign policy, strengthening ties with China and Russia. And Islamabad has repeatedly stressed that the country's sovereign foreign policy line is fully in the line with Pakistan's national interest. Russia is interested in ensuring that the balanced nature of Pakistan's foreign policy, free from outside influence, is strengthening and maintained in the future. So Pakistan's importance is determined by its role in regional politics, its influence in the Muslim world, and its strategic location close to the borders of the Commonwealth in the independent states. Moreover, our countries face similar problems and threats to national security. The nearly complete breakdown of relations between Russia and the West after Ukrainian crisis, maintaining contacts with these Asian countries, including Pakistan, becomes a key strategic priority for Russian authorities. Nearly 8 years ago, if I count it correct, Pakistan became a full member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. This provided an opportunity for Russia and other countries in the region to develop counter-terrorism cooperation with Pakistan. A mechanism for consultation and information exchange has been established among SCO member countries, and joint conference-building measures are being taken. I am deliberately not going to go the area of military technical cooperation because it's not my specialty, and I will leave that field to the other speakers, to the specialists. Take some look on the history. Historical relations between Moscow and Islamabad has not been easy, especially during the Cold War. This is determined by the choice of Pakistan's main partner. In the first decades after declaring independence from British India, Pakistan made a geopolitical choice to pursue close military, political, and economic ties with the United States. But even then, however, there was constructive cooperation between the two countries. Pakistani President Muhammad Ayub Khan sought to build relations with Moscow. He made 2 official visits to the USSR in the mid-1960s. And the Soviets supplied Pakistan with hundreds of military equipments, especially tanks. In the 1917, then Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was in power in Pakistan. Soviet specialists built a large metallurgical complex in the city of Karachi. And I believe this is still in operation today, but perhaps needs construction. We'll talk on this later. Trade and economic relations continued throughout the difficulties of 1980s. In the last 2 decades, objective preconditions have emerged for straightening relations between Russia and Pakistan. Due to the fact that Islamabad has begun to increasingly gravitate towards Eurasian policy, both in international agenda and in the trade and investment sphere. In Russia-Pakistani relations today, we can identify several promising areas of interaction, the most important of which are military, political, trade, and economic cooperation, as well as humanitarian cooperation. The latter has significant potential for growth and can serve as a basis for strengthening Russia's soft power in Pakistan in the future. Today, Russia and Pakistan are considering mutually beneficial projects in such sectors as trade, energy, transport, IT, science, education, and media. Joint project in infrastructure development could lay the foundation for Pakistan's broad integration into the Eurasian cooperation agenda. The Russian side is interested in the implementation of large-scale infrastructure project on the territory of Pakistan. Pakistan, with the growing population of over 233 million people, suffers from underdeveloped energy and transport infrastructure, and Russian specialists have extensive experience in implementing large energy and infrastructure projects. A memorandum of the creation of an international transport corridor Belarus, Russia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan was signed on the sidelines of the first transport forum of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization on November 2023. The agreement between the Russian Federation and Pakistan on road communication signed a year before in November 2022 and coming into force in next year. This allowed the start of road transport between the two countries. On the sidelines of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, the Ministry of Transport of the Russian Federation and the Ministry of Railways of Pakistan signed a memorandum of understanding and cooperation in the field of railway transport on June 2024. As part of this agreement, the parties have established a working group to implement test rail transport using the railway infrastructure of the North-South ITC. According to some estimates, Pakistan's accession to this corridor will reduce the overall cost of the North-South ITC by 20% due to the through railway in the southern section, as well as shortening the delivery time of goods. As part of Pakistan's accession to the project, Russia could participate in modernization railway lines in Pakistan, which connect Pakistan's interior territory with the country border with Iran. The majority of cargo from Russia to Pakistan is shipped by sea. Thanks to sea transport, Russia has significantly increased its wheat supplies to Pakistan in recent years. In early 2024, Russia became the main exporter of wheat to the country, with shipment reaching 1 million tons in the first quarter of the last year. Maritime transport of goods between Russia and Pakistan has generally shown a clear upward trend in recent years. In 2023, the volume of seaborne transport between the two countries will have doubled, and further increases are expected was expected in 2024, at least for 25%, and expected in this year. One promising project that has yet to materialize in the construction of the gas pipeline in Pakistan. In 2015, Moscow and Islamabad signed the intergovernmental agreement on the construction of the North-South gas pipeline. The project will connect the port of Karachi with the northern regions of Pakistan. In 2021, the project was officially renamed Pakistan Stream. The start of construction of the project has been repeatedly postponed, but the Russian Federation and Pakistan are generally not giving up on this implementation. There is, therefore, huge potential for trade and economic cooperation between Russia to Pakistan. Also, Russia and Pakistan can develop cooperation in different dimensions. Not just cooperation, perhaps the questions of different dimensions of security, on even sovereignty, I dare say. Because in nowadays world, the questions of sovereignty, different dimensions, I don't know, technical sovereignty, food sovereignty, even educational sovereignty, these questions again are very urgent. Some words about educational diplomacy, my personal favorite topic. Finally, another very important and promising area of bilateral cooperation between Moscow and Islamabad is the development of contact in the humanitarian and educational spheres and the expansion of people-to-people contacts between Russian and Pakistani citizens. The average age of Pakistani today is only 22, and 55% of Pakistan's population is under 24. This indicates that there is a huge demand for education in the country, which perhaps cannot be met domestically. And addition, the education in the UK and the US, for example, I can say not cheap. Russian education has a good reputation in South Asia and the Middle East, where it is considered high quality and inexpensive. The number of foreign students, not Pakistani, just foreign students in Russian universities has doubled in the last 10 years, and not still a great amount, but the process, the growth we can see. Moscow and Islamabad could take additional measures to increase the demand of Pakistani youth for quality and affordable education. Perhaps the model of Russia's educational cooperation with Central Asia countries could be used as a basic model with some modification, namely a greater role of English in educational process. As part of the development of contacts in the field of education, perhaps new branches of Russian universities can be opened and additional professional training and advanced training programs could be launched. If not personal, maybe online. Modern technology can do it. And for some conclusion, I should say that there can be no sustainable development of the Eurasian macro-regions without inclusive growth of all states in the region. It is extremely important that the countries of the region can only develop effectively together in international regional cooperation. Consistent work on strengthening political, economic, and humanitarian ties will make it possible to overcome the problems of the past and create an important understanding that Russia is not building a tactical alliance with Pakistan for its immediate benefit, but is creating a system of long-term partnership, forming a belt of friends and partners of the global south. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, dear Veronica Vladimirovna. Thank you for your overview of this multilateralism idea, which is now being widely supported and being widely developed in Russian Federation and academia in the specialist area of like political science. And we do understand that Pakistan is also feeling this because you also are exposed to much pressure from the Western countries to make certain decisions to align with their policy, even if it's not in your interest. Russia is also feeling this and was feeling during last like 30 years. And we understand that a new, more just world is in demand, not in demand just from Russian side, but from the global south, from Pakistan as well, I think. And this is a common ground for our discussion and for developing a new world order in the, using the platform of BRICS, using the platform of Shanghai Organization of Cooperation and other platforms as well. Regarding the education, cooperation in education, actually, we have a lot to do. We have a long path to go now. Because education is sometimes a prerequisite for good projects in economy and other spheres, but also it is a good aftermath. When something is already going on, trade relations are going on, new projects are going on, like industrial plants are being constructed, or some joint companies are being founded, then there is a demand for professionals who know the culture, who know the language, who know how it works, these bilateral relations. This is, for example, the example of our relations with China. A lot of trade is going on now, and new professionals are in demand, and that's why the Chinese language is very popular among Russian students at the moment. I know that in Pakistan as well, Chinese language is very popular among students because they know that they will find a place, they will find a job, and new projects are going on. And that's very important also in our bilateral relations with Pakistan. And I want to continue with our next presenter, Professor Dr. Shaista Tabassum from the University of Karachi. The topic of your speech will be Pakistan-Russia strategic cooperation in defense, energy, and beyond. So please, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. His Excellency, Consul General, Dr. Masuma, Hasan, faculty members, and students. Assalamu alaikum. The topic which I have chosen, the chosen topic is the strategic cooperation in defense, energy, and beyond. And when I was going through the abstract book, I found that there may be overlapping of what I will speak now on those topics which will be covered in the later phase. So I will be focusing more on not what has already been achieved, rather what are the prospects and possibilities of cooperation between Russia and Pakistan. And let me begin with defense, because defense is the most important area where collaboration and cooperation could be possible. Defense cooperation has emerged as a cornerstone of this flourishing relationship. In the post-9/11 era, India and US came closer to each other due to dynamics of international politics. As US was Pakistan's main source of military technology, Pakistani officials are of the view that balance of power have been tipped by tilting of US interests towards India. Thus, Pakistan is looking for new venues to balance the conventional parity in order to ensure credible minimum deterrence with India. Narendra Modi and President Trump's administration agreed on closer cooperation, especially the two militaries have agreed to have an access to each other's facilities for repair and supplies. This development has reduced India's dependence on Russia as exclusive military supply to a preferred defense partner, while on the other hand, Pakistan searched for an alternative arms supply amid US-Pakistan tension. Pakistan's quest to diversify its defense partnership and Russia's desire to expand its influence in South Asia have led to several high-level and high-profile agreements, including the one that has been just mentioned by His Excellency, the supply of the Mi-35 helicopters to Pakistan. Along with that, there are a number of the joint military exercises, naval exercises, and training programs that have been conducted between the two countries in the last few years. These collaborations not only enhance Pakistan's defense capabilities, but also provided Russia with a strategic foothold to a region of growing importance. Energy cooperation is another significant dimension of this partnership. Pakistan is facing chronic energy shortage. It has sought Russian expertise and investment in its energy sector. Pakistan's crude oil imports have been significant fluctuations and growth in the recent years. Pakistan traditionally imports oil from Middle Eastern countries, and Saudi Arabia is one of the main suppliers. In 2025, Saudi Arabia deferred 1.2 billion in oil payments for Pakistan, providing some kind of a financial relief and ensuring a stable supply of petroleum products. Apart from Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, and Nigeria is another supplier to Pakistan's crude oil. But one of the most important and significant development that had happened in the recent year is the resumption of import of discounted crude oil from Russia. Under a government-to-government agreement starting from January 2025, Pakistan refinery will import 1 cargo of Russian crude oil per month, totaling 12 cargo annually. So Pakistan's agreement with Russia to import discounted crude oil marks a significant shift in its energy strategy. This partnership also strengthened bilateral economic ties and support to Pakistan's energy security. Not only the crude oil, but Pakistan is also facing severe and very complex situation of the gas deficiency during this last few years. It's because Pakistan's gas reserves are fastly declining. Presently, it's at 19.5 trillion cubic feet, and it was 19.5, and now it has reduced drastically. And it is believed that Pakistan's gas reserves will end in 15 years. So Pakistan is in need of the gas supply as well. The demand for natural gas has surged, and particularly during the winter. This we have all living here in Pakistan have experienced that no gas supplies, especially in the evenings, and the supply is resumed in the morning. In order to handle this fast declining gas issue and the reserves, Pakistan is heavily relying on imported LNGs, the liquefied natural gas, and Russia is definitely one of the supplier of the LNGs as well. It's the main producer of LNG, which accounts, Pakistan's LNG supply accounts for 25% of its natural gas consumptions. But it is very expensive and the prices are constantly fluctuating because of the international market. Similarly, Pakistan is currently facing a substantial electricity shortfall, which is almost more than 6,000 megawatt. Total Pakistan's electricity production is somewhere 20,000 megawatt, and Pakistan's daily requirement is more than 26,000 megawatt. So there is a deficit of 6,000 megawatt which Pakistan required to cover. And there are a number of the sources which are available, which has been utilized by Pakistan for the electricity power generation. For example, the wind power, the solar power, the nuclear power plants are also working, but they are not completing the exact requirement of energy, which is to run the industry and also for the home consumptions, household consumptions. So beyond defense and energy, what I believe is that Pakistan and Russia should explore avenues of cooperation in areas such as, such as the nuclear cooperation, along with the already going on cooperation in trade, finance, the counter-terrorism, etc. But one of a significant area which requires to be explored and which requires to be mentioned here is the peaceful use of nuclear energy. Peaceful use of nuclear energy would help Pakistan shifting from fossil fuels towards nuclear technology. And it's not only a clean alternative, but will be cost effective for the already crumbling economy. Pakistan's nuclear weapon program capabilities have arisen independently of its civil nuclear fuel cycles using indigenous uranium. Because Pakistan is outside nuclear non-proliferation treaty, due to its weapon program, it is largely excluded from trade in nuclear plant or materials, which hinders the development of civil nuclear energy. However, China is positive about having cooperation with Pakistan, and in 2018, International Atomic Energy Agency has also made understanding engagements with Pakistan. But here is imperative to mention one important deal that had already been working in the South Asian region. And this is a nuclear agreement between United States and India, the 123 agreement. The 123 agreement it was signed in 2000, it became operational in 2008. India is both a non-signatory of NPT and it is also pursuing a very active nuclear weapon program. This 123 agreement not only provided a de facto legitimacy to India, but which US has refused to give to Pakistan, but it has also entitled India to gain access to the advanced nuclear technology and to import natural uranium as well as low enriched uranium. The deal also paved the way for the installation of commercial nuclear power reactor in India by the technologically advanced countries who have also ensured unhindered nuclear fuel supply for these reactors. At Pakistan's level, here in Pakistan, it has 6 operable reactors supplied by China and a further unit under constructions. And nuclear power plants are supplying just 3,500 megawatts. It's simply 8% of Pakistan's installed electric generation capacity. So Pakistan has made significant progress in nuclear power generation with the support of IAEA. A similar kind of nuclear deal with Russia could facilitate Pakistan in the construction of new nuclear plants. Technology transfer and expertise sharing would help Pakistan to diversify its energy mix and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Moreover, collaboration with Russia, which is no doubt a global leader in nuclear technology would enable Pakistan to access advanced nuclear technologies, including small modular reactors. These reactors hold the promise of bringing nuclear power to remote or undeserved communities, providing access to clean and affordable energy. Further, this partnership could also enhance Pakistan's domestic nuclear industry. Nuclear energy is believed to be low-emission technology with immense power density and negligible carbon footprint, with almost no greenhouse gas emission. Since last few years, Pakistan is also facing very chronic, serious climatic challenges, with the smog practically paralyzing the life in Punjab, KPK, and Upper Sindh. Peaceful use of nuclear technology is a ray of hope. It's a ray of hope to come out from these climatic issues. Russia could also assist Pakistan in the construction of new nuclear power plants, as it has an edge and expertise in third-generation reactor technologies like VVER, that is water-water energetic reactor. It could also assist in the modernization of the existing ones. Pakistan is in continuous need of enriched uranium fuel for existing nuclear plants. Russian collaboration would help Pakistan in the development of nuclear fuel cycle technologies, including uranium enrichment and spent fuel management under IAEA safeguards. As nuclear technology is used in various other areas, especially in healthcare, like, for example, the nuclear medicine, radiation therapy for the cancer patient, and diagnostic imaging tools like PET and CT scan, that could also be a great contribution to the health industry or health sector in Pakistan. A joint research initiative with Russia could focus in advancing radiopharmaceutics and other medical isotopes for therapeutic and diagnostic purposes. Yet one another important area of collaboration could be expertise in using nuclear technology for crop improvement, pest control, and food radiation to reduce post-harvest loss, which Pakistan is constantly facing. Joint research centers could be the launching of this relationship to explore innovative applications of nuclear technology. While concluding this, I must say that Pakistan and Russia have improved their domestic and military ties. Their diplomatic and military ties, nuclear cooperation remains off the table due to Russia's non-proliferation commitment, NSG obligations, and close relations with India. If relations between Moscow and Islamabad continue to improve, limited collaboration in civilian nuclear energy could be a possibility in the future. Since the beginning of the nuclear weapon race in the region, Pakistan proposed for declaring South Asia a nuclear weapon-free zone. And the peaceful use of nuclear energy and its engagement with Russia would actually prove that Pakistan don't want to use nuclear technology for non-peaceful purposes. It is determined to use this technology only for the peaceful uses. The Russia-Pakistan strategic partnership is a testament to the evolving dynamics of global geopolitics. As both nations navigate the complexities of an increasing multipolar world, their collaboration in defense, energy, and beyond holds the potential to reshape regional alliances and contribute to a more stable and prosperous South Asia. Thank you very much.
Dear Professor Shaista Tabassum, thank you very much indeed for your very comprehensive report. And I just want to say that especially thank you for the emphasis you made on energy cooperation. As we already discussed, the logistics corridors, transportation corridors, they include not only roads, but include also the pipelines for fossil fuels, for oil and gas. And regarding the nuclear cooperation, that's peaceful nuclear cooperation, that's very important. As you know, the Rosatom, like the public company in Russia, which is in charge of construction in the field of peaceful atom, they construct nuclear plants. They're working abroad very actively, and they're one of the world leaders in nuclear plants construction. They're working now in Egypt, in Turkey, in India, in Bangladesh, in China, and they're constructing new nuclear plants there. And when we're talking about construction of nuclear plants, this is not only about the plant itself, but also about the professionals which are trained. And there is a whole cluster of universities in Russia who are in charge of, training the professionals in the field of nuclear plant operation, because it's very important to have these professionals, and also about the research, the joint research which is going on. And you also emphasize this, and this is very important, because Rosatom includes a lot of research institutes inside, and they also try to involve the countries and the teams from the countries where the plants are being constructed to this ongoing research about the new technologies in nuclear. And this is a very good starting point. So if these projects will be initiated, I think it will be a great breakthrough for the cooperation between Russia and Pakistan. And I want to proceed with our last, according to my agenda for today in this plenary session, speaker, Professor Adam Saud from Bahrain University in Islamabad, with the presentation topic of which is from divergence to convergence of interests. I already announced it earlier. Neo-Realist approach to Pakistan-Russia relations. So, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, respected chair, panelists, the Consul General, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, and good afternoon. It's always a privilege to be the last speaker of this session because most has already spoken. So you have to be very careful and try to give a different perspective. That is what I'll try. I try to be more academic because my topic is discussing Pakistan-Russia relations from the lens of neo-realism theory primarily. If you look at the neo-realist theory in international politics, we know generally realism talks about the power politics and maximization of power by states, and if we discuss the classical realism, that it talks about the maximization of even individuals' powers as well. But why neo-realism? Because if we look at the trajectory of relationship between Russia and Pakistan, we can understand that it's this international political structure that has been forcing both these states to take stances, whether it was convergence or it has now been the convergence of interest over the period of time. There are few realities which are basic assumptions of the neo-realist paradigm which we need to understand before or applying onto the Pakistan-Russia relations. Obviously, it talks about the anarchic international political structure where there is no power or no mechanism where the aggressor can be stopped, or where the powerful states they can be stopped while pursuing their national interest at the expense of the weaker states. Therefore, this phenomena, it leads to a different kind of foreign policy choices at the global and regional level, even at the local level, where the behavior of the superpowers and the great powers actually, they are forcing the smaller states to act and behave accordingly, where they have to locate their interest and where they have to align and realign their interest with either of the superpower or the regional powers. So we see that the states in this neo-realist paradigm, they are considered as the basic unitary rational actor with the most important thing is the self-help and survival, because no state is unless the state or an international institution has interest, it's not going to help any state in a situation like the crisis. So it's the state, particularly if we look from the prism of security, whether it's the hardcore military security or the economic security, the states, they have to be self-sufficient and they must be powerful enough at least to have a deterrent capability against the potential enemies. Then another important assumption of the neo-realist paradigm is the balance of power. Now look at the geopolitics of this particular region, where we are located, where we have conflicts with India, and we have to balance our hardcore military power with the existential threat to Pakistan. We have to. So in that particular context, obviously, whenever India is maneuvering, India is actually trying to balance its power with China. And obviously, when it tries to balance its power with China, it creates a security dilemma for Pakistan. So obviously, Pakistan needs to fill that gap by getting more and more power or advancing its technologies, whether in terms of the conventional weapons or the non-conventional weapons. So relative gains is another important aspect of the neo-realist paradigm, where the relative gains actually lead towards the competition and conflict. And like I have already said, that such conflict and competition leads to the maximization of power. So the security dilemma is the outcome of that particular relative gains. And last is the role of international institutions. Like I've already explained, the international political structure is anarchic in nature. So international institutions, they are very weak. They cannot do anything unless the superpowers or the great powers, they want to do something. So in this particular scenario, if we apply our relation with the Russian relations, so right from the beginning, when Pakistan gained independence, we were threatened by Indian hegemonic designs. We had to seek assistance, and obviously there were certain connections between the Indian National Congress and the Soviet Communist Party as well. Even the Soviet Communist Party at that time declared All India Muslim League as a tool of the British imperialism, which they have applied for the divide and rule perspective. So, there were certain things into the minds of the policymakers at that time, and obviously our policymakers or the elite at that time, it was Western educated and they have interest in the West. Therefore, obviously, they went towards the West, and the Indian factor actually forced us to join the military blocs with the Western world, Sito, Cento, we were. But even then, our relation with the Soviet Union, actually Soviet Union in Pakistan and general public and academia even, it is generally known as Russia, so it's always Russia. So even then, we had some sort of smaller but constructive engagements with Moscow and Islamabad, and where we see that some sort of military and economic agreements, they were carried out between the two states. So what I was discussing earlier on, the international political structure that is in transition. And people predict that it's going to be a multipolarity, but still it's in the transition, where we see that United States is still the superpower. And China is a transitional power. So if we apply the power transition theory, obviously, again, there are different perspectives into that. But Russia is a resurgent power. So here we see that in order to balance the existing superpower, the interest of Russia and China, they have converged. Not only Russia and China, but obviously there are certain other states, particularly the BRICS, where there is a voice at international level for a multipolarity in international politics. But for Pakistan, the problem is that the US has, in its 2022 US National Defense Strategy fact sheet, it has declared China obviously as a strategic challenger, but India as a net security provider in the Indian Ocean region and beyond. So this is something very, very alarming for Pakistan. Therefore, Pakistan has to realign its geostrategic interest with those states which are demanding for the multipolarity. Therefore, naturally, we are getting closer to Russia. Obviously, we have good relations with China, but we are getting closer to Russia. Similarly, Russia, particularly after the Ukraine crisis, is facing diplomatic and international isolation, particularly from the Western Front. So therefore, it also needs partners where it can have more and more collaboration with them. I've already discussed all these things. We have discussed it. So coming towards the post-Cold War era, when Russia got independence, the hopes for establishing good relations between Pakistan and Russia, they were started. There were smaller scale of visits. Obviously, Pakistan's foreign minister and Russia's foreign minister, they also visited each other countries during the early 1990s, but a breakthrough could not be brought at that time. However, later on, when the 9/11 happened and the global war on terrorism started, that was the point where in 2003, when General Musharraf visited Russia, both states, they charted out a strategy how to engage both countries in multiple fields. So that was the time when we started with a constructive engagement. Now, here are certain interests of convergence between the two states. I've already explained Russia is facing a kind of diplomatic isolation, particularly from the Western countries, and rebalancing its foreign policy towards the Indian subcontinent and broader Indian Ocean region. We know that India and Russia, they had very good relations. They still have good relations. But the kind of warmth in the relations is changed now. And Russia is not having that kind of leverage on New Delhi, which it had during the Cold War or right after the disintegration of Soviet Union because of the American factor. Therefore, Russia also wants to realign its policy towards the South Asian region for broader interest. Shared concern of Afghanistan, terrorism, and regional stability, Dr. Shaista has already explained all this in details. Russia's pivot to Asia and Pakistan role in China, Pakistan Economic Corridor, again, the Belt and Road Initiative, broader Belt and Road Initiative, and particularly the Russian support to Pakistan and Central Asia connectivity is very important in this particular context. Why? Because once you are into Central Asia, then Russia is no far from you. You are already connected to Russia through multiple routes. So the Trans-Afghan Railway project, which was mentioned by one of the colleagues, is also very, very important for both Russia and Pakistan. Once materialized, you can easily enter into Uzbekistan and then to the Russian Federation through Central Asian transport corridors. Energy cooperation, again, much has been already discussed into it. And military deals and arms deals, which have already been done. Military helicopters, Mi helicopters, they have been given to Pakistan. Much is into the pipeline. Pakistan diversification of defense. You know, one more thing which I need to explain is back in 1998 when Pakistan was put under the Pressler Amendment. So at that time, Pakistan also shifted its alliance or its defense agreements towards Russian Federation as well. Gas stream, Pakistan stream gas pipeline has already been discussed. Bilateral trade is about $1 billion, but it's very, very less. We need to do more. And there are two important elements which bring two countries together. One is the geostrategic interest, and second is the geoeconomic interest. But unfortunately, so far Pakistan and Russia are concerned, we don't have that much bigger, geostrategic and common geostrategic and common geoeconomic interest. Therefore, we see that although the progress is onto the right direction, but the pace of that progress is very, very slow. So we need to explore some other areas. Dr. Shaista has already pointed out certain important areas where we can have more and more collaboration. But obviously, if we face any problems and hurdles in the bilateral agreements, we can go for the multilateral agreements where we can broaden our horizon of cooperation. And in this context, not only the BRICS, but Shanghai Cooperation Organization is one of the important organization, important platform where our leadership and the Russian leadership, they interact and they discuss different avenues at the sidelines of such meetings. And Pakistan's aspiration to join the BRICS is also going to open up certain other avenues of future cooperation. So I have discussed these external factors, 3 important external factors. Now, challenges. There are certain challenges. Historical mistrust, because we had been into the different camps, and obviously still there is some kind of thinking into the historical baggage which needs to be thrown out, but it would take some time. But I think such kind of exercises, such kind of initiatives are going to bring positive results and outcomes in future. India's influence on Russia, obviously, it has been a close partner of India. It is still a close partner of India. So once Russia compare India and Pakistan, obviously they would have a tilt towards India than Pakistan, due to, obviously, we know, being the student of international politics, their interests are more converging with India than Pakistan. Pakistan's internal instability and economic challenges, obviously, it's very, very important for Pakistan. And under such circumstances where you have political and economic instability, the other states, they are also reluctant to have long-term and important projects with you. Pakistan's interest towards the US and international financial institutions cannot be ignored. I mean, we should not be focusing just towards Russia at the expense of our relation with the US, because again, US is the superpower, sole superpower of the world. Being realistic, you have to cope up with the situation. Always in need of economic times, we go to the IMF, we go to international financial institution, and we know that international financial institutions, they are under the influence of the West and America. So we need to have a balanced approach towards West as well as towards Russia. So geopolitical risk in the form of US sanctions on Russia. One example is the Pakistan gas stream pipeline, where the company that had to construct the pipeline is under the international sanctions by the US. So it has negatively impacted and affected this particular project. China and the US factor in Pakistan foreign policy decision making. Obviously, we have good relations with them. So whenever we take decisions, we need to keep into mind the interest of these two powers while taking any kind of the decision. So in conclusion, I would say that there is the importance of trust building and long-term strategic planning. So I am sure that the diplomatic community of both the countries, Pakistani community in Moscow and Russian community in Islamabad and in Karachi, they are working onto it. And we have seen very intensive engagement, particularly at the people-to-people connectivity, where we see that our scholars, they are into the universities of Russia, and few of the scholars from Russia, they are also into Pakistan. But it needs to be expanded for more, confidence-building measures. Impact of global power shift, I have already discussed. US-China rivalry, it is impacting the Russia and Pakistan relation into a positive side. Pakistan sees Russia as a valuable partner in balancing its relation with India, while Russia seeks influence in South Asia to counterbalance US power. And potential for deeper economic and defense ties is always there. So role of regional organizations like Shanghai Cooperation Organization and Eurasian Economic Union is also one of the avenues which can be explored, and possibly BRICS, they can also play there. And in the end, both states seek to maximize their security in an unpredictable international environment. Their convergence can be seen as a balancing act against perceived threats from the West and regional adversaries. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you, Professor Aramsod. Thank you for your theoretical, giving us theoretical basis, and in some way very contradictory with what we already heard about the multilateral approach. This is a realpolitik approach. A separate one, but quite popular one among a lot of specialist in international relations. I just want to say that Russia is a very complex country, a very big country, and has sometimes competing interests in different parts of the world. But of course, we're trying to promote this multilateral approach, especially nowadays. And for example, you mentioned the BRICS platform. Like in Kazan, during the BRICS summit this October, we had a very fruitful meeting between President Xi and between Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. They discussed the ways how they can try to cooperate nowadays, could lower the tensions between two countries. And they even relaunched direct air flights now between India and China. So this is a platform which Russia is proposing, a platform for multilateral cooperation. And that's very important, I think. I think that's what we should think about. If Russia can help Pakistan also to establish good friendly relations with the neighbors as well. Actually, yeah, sure.
I would like to thank our colleague for a very interesting speech, but I would like to make a few remarks on the matter. The good sample of isolation of Russia is being demonstrated now in Saudi Arabia, where we have negotiations with this superpower. And during the formats of BRICS and Shanghai Cooperation Organization, we were obviously isolated, also in our contacts in Africa, Latin America, and Asia. Maybe a small group of countries, which is not the majority of the world, think they can isolate a big part of the world. But still, there is a right to think like that. What about the Lahore-Karachi gas pipeline? So 3 governments of Pakistan re-signed the agreement about implementation of this deal, but still we are ready to start work anytime. But to dance tango, we need 2 people, and we are still awaiting the proposals from Pakistani government when our companies can start working on the matter. And I would like to remind kindly that the agreement was signed in 2015 when I was here as a Deputy Consul General, and there were any sanctions on the companies which were the part of the deal. I don't know what Pakistan government is afraid of in this deal, but these companies are not under sanctions. So that's another one. And the third remark is that Russia is an independent country, so no country can impact our relations with Pakistan. We are providing our foreign policy independently. And we are not thinking about any other superpowers or just countries which can impact our relations with friendly Pakistan. So that's just what I want to mention.
Thank you, Andrey Viktorovich, for the very timely remarks.